You think you're tough? Cool, but let's put that to the test, Viking style. Forget the battles for a second. Just living as a Viking for 24 hours would push you to the edge. It's not the fighting that would break you, it's everything else. Every hour is a new level of discomfort, and you haven't even opened your eyes yet. The sun's not up, and neither are you, at least not willingly. Someone just kicked you awake, hard. That's your Viking alarm clock. A boot to the ribs. You roll over groaning. On what barely counts as a bed, a scratchy pile of straw that you've shared with goats, sheep, and probably a couple of rats. The smell. Let's just say the animals are used to it, and even they don't look thrilled. This is the longhouse. Think of it as a medieval studio apartment, except it's 60 feet long. It's filled with 20 to 40 people, and has zero privacy. Everyone's in one giant room. Grandparents, babies, warriors, kids, and livestock, all under one smoky roof. There are no bedrooms, no partitions, and absolutely no silence. The animals aren't just guests, they live inside so they don't freeze or get snatched by wolves. Cute, right? Right in the middle of this chaos is the fire pit, your only heat source. The smoke is supposed to rise through a hole in the roof, doesn't. It hangs around like it pays rent, turning the air into a thick fog that stings your eyes and scratches your throat. The Vikings called this indoor heating. We'd call it a health hazard. Temperature control. Yeah, no. You're relying entirely on the fire. If you're not parked right next to it, you're freezing. Even in summer, nights in Scandinavia dip below freezing. Winter? Forget it. A modern freezer would feel like a spa day in comparison. Now comes the joy of getting dressed. Your clothes? Always damp. Viking fabric, mostly wool and linen, soaks up the humidity and holds on to it like a grudge. Imagine pulling on cold, wet clothes that feel like they've been soaked in sandpaper. That's your outfit for the day. Now it's time for hygiene, which is a generous word here. If you're lucky, you'll wash your face in freezing river water. Most mornings, it's just a damp rag and a prayer. Believe it or not, Vikings were considered the cleanest people in medieval Europe, which really says more about medieval Europe than the Vikings. Brushing your teeth? No toothpaste? No brush. You chew on a stick until one end frays, then scrub. Minty fresh? Not exactly. Breakfast is ... creative. Leftover stew that's been simmering over that smoky fire. Could be vegetables, could be meat, could be both or neither. It's food, technically. Vikings were big on recycling, especially food that had no business being recycled. You don't drink the water unless you're tired of living. Rivers and wells are full of bacteria and parasites. Now your drink of choice is ale or mead. Yes, even for breakfast. The alcohol kills germs, but it also means you're starting your day slightly buzzed. Welcome to the Viking version of hydrated. And this is all before you've even started your real work. Someone shouts, "It's time to get the longboat ready." Your heart sinks. That sleek, intimidating boat on the beach is your worst nightmare wrapped in wood. It looks cool until you realize it runs entirely on Viking power. No sail, just you and Anne are the size of a lamppost. This boat is a floating torture device. Each oar is around 12 feet long and weighs 18 pounds. You row while sitting on a wooden box, or if you're lucky, the deck itself. There's no cushion, no support, just raw determination and a lot of lower back pain. Within minutes, your legs are cramping and your hands are already developing blisters. You've barely started and your body's falling apart. By hour 3, the blisters have popped. Your palms are raw and bleeding. The oar sticks to your skin with every stroke, turning rowing into agony. But stopping isn't an option. Now imagine doing this while battling the North Sea. That water can turn on you fast. 1 minute it's calm. The next you're facing 20-foot waves and driving rain. You're soaking wet, freezing cold, and completely exposed. You'll cover no protection, just you, the weather, and your will to survive. Sleep. Forget about it. The longboat doesn't stop, and there's no room to lie down. You nap curled up on the deck if you're lucky. Otherwise, you try to sleep sitting up while the boat rocks and your body aches. Oh, and when rivers get too shallow, you don't detour. Carry the boat. All 3,000 pounds of it, not counting supplies. You and 39 other exhausted men haul it over land. It's like CrossFit, if CrossFit included mosquitoes, mud, and 0 water breaks. Your gear, tools, weapons, anything made of metal has to be constantly cleaned. Salt water destroys iron faster than you'd believe. Everything corrodes. Everything, even your sanity. After days of this, your body's toast. Your hands are shredded. Your back barely holding together. You're cold, sleep-deprived, and borderline malnourished. But the real fun hasn't even started yet. Land comes into view, and adrenaline kicks in. You're not just rowing anymore, you're invading. The longboat scrapes against the shore, and in seconds, the entire cruise shifts from tired rowers to armed raiders. The target is usually a soft one, a monastery, a village, a farm. Somewhere with treasure, not soldiers. This isn't about bravery, it's about strategy. Vikings picked battles they could win. Most of the time, they were up against people holding prayer books instead of swords. You grab your axe. Simple, functional, deadly. Maybe you've got a shield too. Round, wooden, covered in leather, reinforced with iron. Armor? Probably not. It's expensive, and most Vikings couldn't afford it. If you're lucky, you've got thick leather and a helmet that barely fits. When the fight starts, it's not a movie-style duel. It's fast, loud, and terrifying. Chaos, screams, steel hitting wood, shields crashing. You're fighting shoulder to shoulder in a shield wall, a tight formation of overlapping shields. If someone breaks formation, they die. Period. Communication in battle, useless. Can't hear anything over the noise, and visibility is trash. Orders come through horn blasts or frantic hand signals. Hope you catch them. Your shield weighs 15 pounds and it hurts to hold up. After a few minutes, your arm's on fire. But if you drop it, you're done. It's like holding a tray while someone smashes it with a hammer and you're the waiter with everything to lose. So you've survived the raid barely. Your muscles are jelly, your shield arm is twitching, and your lungs feel like they've been scraped out with a spoon. But guess what? You're not done. Not even close. Now comes the looting, and you'd better move fast. Some of your crew stand guard, while the rest grab everything that isn't nailed down, and even some stuff that is. Silver coins, jewelry, tools, livestock, anything valuable and light enough to carry gets snatched. You don't have a shopping cart. You've got your arms and maybe a sack, and you have to run with it. This part is brutal. You're high on adrenaline, but dangerously low on energy. The clock is ticking. Reinforcements could show up at any second. Every second you stay increases the chance that someone fights back harder and better than expected. And here's where it really gets cruel. The most dangerous moment in a Viking raid is leaving. You're carrying stolen goods, maybe dragging an uncooperative goat, limping from a fresh wound, and suddenly you're not in formation anymore. You're scattered, vulnerable, and moving slower than before. If enemies launch a counterattack, this is when you get picked off. It's like the final boss fight, but with a pulled hamstring and a sack full of treasure. Once you reach the longboat again, you don't relax. You reload. And this is a delicate operation. Too much weight in the wrong place. The boat tips, game over. Heavy stuff like anvils and weapons go in the middle, lighter stuff around the edges, and then there's the livestock. Sheep don't care about your escape plan, they just bleat and panic, making loading even harder. And you're not just rowing back. You're rowing back tired, injured, and overloaded. The boat now sits lower in the water, making it more vulnerable to waves. Bad weather that you could have handled before, now it's life-threatening. Your arms feel like wet noodles. Your back's a mess. But you row anyway, because stopping means dying at sea or getting caught by a rival crew that wants your loot. Oh yeah, other Vikings will rob you. Viking crime is a real thing. If your crew looks weak or overloaded, you're a floating target. They'll take your treasure, your boat, and maybe even your boots. So now you're rowing, while also keeping one eye on the horizon for sails. Trust no one. There's no rest. There's no sleep. The boat has packed less room than before. You used to lie on the deck. Now, that space is taken by sacks of barley, stolen tools, and livestock doing their business all over the floorboards. And every crash of a wave sends seawater over the sides, soaking your already wet clothes and supplies. It's chaos. Simple tasks become nightmares. Can't cook, you can't sleep, you can barely think. Someone's got a dislocated shoulder, someone else is coughing up blood. And you're just trying not to puke from the smell of wet goat and fermented fish. And just when the coastline finally comes into view, and you think you're safe, you realize you're not even close. Back on land, your suffering continues immediately. You're starving, but Viking meals don't exactly bring comfort. Forget fresh food you're eating, whatever didn't rot since last week. Not even that might be pushing it. The Viking diet is functional, not enjoyable. Barley and oats get crushed with stone tools, which means your flour has tiny bits of rock in it. So every piece of bread acts like sandpaper on your teeth, fills your stomach, but it also slowly destroys your molars. And that's one of the better meals. Fish is your main protein source when you can get it. Fresh fish, a dream. Most of the time, it's dried, salted, or worse, fermented. Imagine chewing leather that smells like feet and burns your mouth. That's dinner. This dried cod is so tough it has to soak for hours just to be chewable. Food gets made in massive iron pots that feed dozens at a time. Same pot, same stew, just new stuff added each day. By Friday, it's a terrifying mystery of everything that didn't get eaten before. And nobody cleans the pot. Why would they? It's flavor. Meat is rare. You only get it after a successful raid or major event. And when an animal is slaughtered, nothing goes to waste. Nothing. Blood becomes sausage. Organs go into soup. Bones get boiled. You eat parts of the animal you didn't even know existed, and some that probably shouldn't be food. Clean drinking water? Still a nope. You stick to ale or meat again. Safer, it has calories, and it dulls the taste of whatever's on your plate. The downside? You're buzzed 24/7. Viking life runs on liquid courage and fermentation. Now let's talk food safety actually. Let's not, because it doesn't exist. Spoiled food still gets eaten if it's not too spoiled. Salt helps preserve stuff, but salt is expensive. It's a mild food poisoning. Just part of life. Everyone gets it. If you're lucky, you puke once and move on. If not, well, best not to think about it. You eat with your hands or a shared wooden spoon. No forks, no personal bowls. Hygiene is ... optional. The ground is sometimes cleaner than the table, and nobody bats an eye. As your stomach churns and your teeth throb, the final insult is trying to sleep again. Night falls on the longhouse. You're back in the 60-foot dormitory from hell, where peace and quiet go to die. Imagine trying to rest in a packed building filled with 40 people, and that includes livestock. The noise is non-stop, snoring, coughing, babies crying, goats bleating, people mumbling in their sleep, fire crackling, wind howling through the walls. If you do sleep, it's because you passed out from exhaustion. Doors, windows, tri-cloth curtains that flap in the breeze. Well, the longhouse has no locks, and security is basically hope no one bothers us. And that's not just humans. Wild animals are a threat too. Bears will bust right through the entrance if they smell food. Wolves come for the sheep. The whole building is a buffet with no locks and open hours. Privacy, that's not a thing. You sleep with your family in one section, separated only by belongings. You hear everything. There are no walls, just people, crammed together, making it through the night. Bedding is straw, fur, or rough blankets. Pillows. Try a rolled-up shirt. Lice and fleas are part of the experience, biting, itching, never going away. And fire, it might warm you, or it might burn the whole place down. Sparks fly, straw catches. It's a gamble every night. Need to use the bathroom? That means stepping outside into the freezing dark, hoping you don't step on something worse. Most people hold it as long as humanly possible. Some don't make it. Illness spreads like wildfire. You can't isolate anyone, so one cough becomes 10, and suddenly half the longhouse is sick. No medicine, no quarantine. You just wait and hope. And as you lie there, itchy, cold, slightly drunk, possibly poisoned, and definitely sore, you realize something brutal. This was just one day. You've made it through a full Viking day. Barely. But as you lie there in the itchy straw, covered in flea bites, the smell of smoke and livestock still clinging to your skin, you realize tomorrow is going to be exactly the same. And the day after that. And the day after that. Because Viking life isn't some epic highlight reel of battles and glory. It's a grinding, relentless existence built on discomfort, repetition, and sheer mental toughness. The raids might be dramatic, but it's the normal days that wear you down the most. Everything is hard. Everything hurts. Your body never fully recovers. The constant rowing, walking, chopping, hauling it tears you apart slowly, bit by bit. Your muscles are always sore, your joints always stiff. And the cold makes everything worse. There are no warm showers, no soft beds, no ergonomic anything. Just hard labor, raw weather, and pain. You start every day tired and end it even more exhausted. There's no such thing as being well rested. It's not when sleep means curling up in damp fur, surrounded by snoring bodies and squealing livestock. You're never really comfortable. You're just less miserable than the day before. And yet somehow, life keeps going. You still have to chop wood for the fire or freeze to death. You still have to fix leaks in the roof, repair broken tools, and help maintain the longboat, which is constantly in need of attention. Sails tear, ropes fray, wooden boards crack. If something breaks, you can't just buy a replacement, you make it, or you do without. If you're not raiding, you're farming. Farming as a Viking isn't any easier. It means planting crops in rocky soil, often in freezing conditions, with hand tools that feel like medieval torture devices. Every calorie you eat has to be earned with 10 calories of labor. Even simple tasks like staying clean or getting dressed are miniature battles. Washing your clothes means hauling water from a river, boiling it, scrubbing by hand and hoping it dries before the next rainstorm. Wearing them means tolerating damp, scratchy fabric that chafes your skin raw. There's no downtime, no vacation, no comfort. Every part of your day, from waking up to falling asleep, is about survival. It's you versus the elements, you versus hunger, you versus exhaustion. And if all that goes well, you might get to fight someone who wants to kill you. Speaking of fighting, if you thought your first battle was bad, the next one could be worse. You never know when you'll be called to raid again, or when your own village might get attacked. Vikings weren't just raiders, they were targets too. Other clans, rival ships, or even foreign armies could show up on your shoreline and return the favor. Suddenly, you're on the defensive, swinging an axe not for treasure but for your life. And when injuries happen, there's no doctor, no hospital. If you're lucky, you'll get your wounds cleaned with river water or maybe ale. Bleeding gets handled with pressure and cloth. If a bone breaks, someone will yank it straight and tie it to a stick. Infection? Nothing to do but wait and hope it doesn't kill you. If you survive, you probably won't heal, right? Limping and chronic pain become your new normal. Injured or not, you're still expected to pull your weight. No one else is going to feed your family. You don't get days off because your arm's in a sling or your ribs are bruised. Pain becomes part of the rhythm of life. And let's not forget the weather. Winters are brutally cold and can last up to 8 months. It means long stretches of darkness, frozen ground, and food shortages. You spend those months huddled indoors, packed like sardines with everyone else, just trying to stay warm and not starve. Spring brings mud and flooding. Summer means endless work in the fields or preparation for raids. Fall is spent gathering, preserving, and bracing for winter again. There is always something to do, and never enough time to do it. Then there's the emotional toll. You live with constant uncertainty. Every time someone leaves the village, whether it's to raid, trade, or hunt, there's a chance they won't come back. Disease can wipe out entire families. One bad storm can ruin a whole season's food supply. One accident can leave your child without a parent. There's no stability, no safety net. It's just your wits, your willpower, and your community. Everyone works, or everyone suffers. But here's the wild part. They were proud of this life. To the Vikings, this wasn't miserable. It was honorable. Pain and hardship were proof of strength. Scarred hands meant you worked hard. A bent back meant you provided. They didn't complain, they expected it to be hard. That was the point. They believed in something beyond just surviving. They believed in legacy, in honor, in building something that lasted. They told stories around the fire about heroes, ancestors, and gods who endured worse and conquered more. They faced death without flinching, not because they didn't fear it, but because they accepted it. Because to live as a Viking wasn't about avoiding pain, it was about rising above it. So if you still think you could survive 24 hours as a Viking, maybe you could. But only if you're ready to give up everything modern life has taught you about comfort, convenience, and control. No phones, no food delivery, no warm bed, soft hoodie, or clean water from the tap. It would take more than strength. It would take grit, patience, endurance. The ability to suffer quietly and still get up the next day and do it again. Because that's what being a Viking really meant, not just raiding villages or sailing into battle. It meant being tougher than the cold, the hunger, the pain, and the chaos. It meant being able to hold the line when your body begged you to stop. It meant keeping your shield up even when your arm was on fire. It meant finding the will to row another mile, carry another load, swing another axe, and doing it every single day. So no, you probably wouldn't last 24 hours as a Viking, but if you did, you'd never be the same again.